Welcome. Today we have two short episodes. The first one is with our friend Jack, who is played by Tony. And the second one will be with Amalia, who will be playing Serena. So, beginning tonight's episode. Jack awakens in the middle of the week. He checks his phone, and there seems to be one text message from the ghoul of someone Jack knows. I believe you get who I mean.
Oh yeah.
The
What's the
message
message says?
the message reads, will be arriving tonight. The mistress expects you to greet her. And then it has an address.
Is it far from our current haven,
Not too far.
or is it closer? Is it closer to the hospital?
Well, let me put it this way. If you have Roll20 open,
Yeah.
so this is the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The address is around here.
Okay. I'll probably drive myself.
Okay. So you get in your vehicle. You begin making your way there. As you drive, you pass the lights in the street, and every time you pass one, it's almost as if your surroundings seem less familiar. And once the light passes and you enter that brief shaded space between the streetlights, it's almost like it's comforting. And you approach the address to find it is a restaurant, an Italian restaurant, currently closed.
I see. I replied to the ghoul. I'm here.
There is about a 2, maybe 3 minute pause, and then you receive a response. You may enter.
And I shall.
So you walk up to the restaurant?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You try the front door, and it is indeed unlocked. As soon as you open and make your way inside, the lights are all off. It really does seem like this entire restaurant is closed for the night. There's no one here. It is dead silent, pitch black. Really, really hard to see.
Would I been able to perform my
If you'd
ritual?
like, yes.
I would probably do it. I know her methods. I wouldn't be surprised by the absolute absence of light at the meeting place. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my eyes just go pitch black.
And as they go pitch black, it's almost like the darkness of the room becomes illuminated by a faint light coming from outside. As if it's not quite after midnight, but it is instead, let's say, the light you'd expect in the late afternoon. You walk through the restaurant, and eventually reach the end of this main room by, going through the tables. And there is a door to which you assume would lead to the kitchen. Going through them, you see that the area is clean, like sparkling clean. And walking through the kitchen, you reach basically a side room, which you assume would be the office for the owner. And as you approach the door, you don't quite get to open it as the door opens for you. And on the other side, you see the same ghoul. Mr. Jack, it is a pleasure to see you once more.
It's a pleasure to see you as well.
You haven't aged a day, though that is to be expected, sir.
Yes, that is written in the conditions and terms.
The madam is awaiting your presence, and he steps to the side and allows you to pass through.
I'm going in.
As you walk inside, the ghoul exits the room and closes the door behind him, and you hear a click of the lock, being engaged. Looking within the office, you see this large table with a computer on it, a few file cabinets, and a few areas that you assume would be for, essentially small ludic activities. For example, there is this small pool table that is to the corner. Apparently, the owner of the place is quite wealthy. Well, on the pool table lays one man unconscious, dressed in a suit, and with one of the chairs that you would assume would be at the office's desk. That chair is sitting at the pool table instead, and on it sits Liliana, who...
Good evening, mistress. I just do like this kind of bow. Respectable enough, but like not too servant deep.
She eyes you up and down and says, "You seem to have lost weight. Results of a battle?"
City... You can say that, yeah.
It's good that you came to greet me. I have been looking forward to this business you summoned me for. Tell me more. And she takes the wrist of the man and starts essentially peeling back the sleeve and tracing her fingers along the veins on his arm.
Well, we had running in with a person who was wielding a sword that can potentially be a relic of sorts of a faith.
I see. And What are its effects exactly?
If I remember correctly, it is somewhat unpleasant to hold for a Cainite, and I cross-referenced some books. It led me to some information about our clan's business with religion and the repellent of unholy.
Do you have it with you? Or shall I have a look at it later?
Uh, I shall bring it later.
Very well. Otherwise, how have your studies been going? And she starts
Collection
biting into the wrist of the man.
collection is growing. Few leads into even better collection. What else? I'm working on a ritual or two.
At that mention, she stops, sort of wipes her lip, and gently lets the man's wrist back onto the table, and then looks at you and says, "Describe me these rituals you're working on."
The one I'm more concentrated on is supposed to use shadows as a mean of communication, non-verbal communication. You probably know the rituals that allows one to tag on objects or people's wrist through abyss.
I do.
Yeah. So I essentially am trying currently to rearrange the shadows on the other end through abyss to resemble some sort of letters or forms.
Not an idea unheard of, yet I've yet to meet someone who has managed. I'd be impressed if you did. Is there
I
anything else you've been working on?
mostly that and questioning a captured enemy.
A captured enemy. Do
Oh,
tell.
they were a troll or probably co-conspirator from another enemy of our kind that we had running in.
And why not simply dispose of it?
There is still some information to be gained.
Nothing I don't expect you to obtain. And of course, anything you find, I will be the first one to know.
That is that is acceptable.
Very good.
How is Master Wayland?
Still kicking. For now.
Wouldn't expect less of him.
He's been spotted in town, but we've yet to speak. I would assume he is busy.
Cainites of HR.
Regardless, I will have a look at this sword of yours. But there is also something I would need from you. Well, it's not an incredibly difficult favor. I need you to deliver a letter for me.
Sounds indeed not so difficult.
Hmm.
Who to?
To Isaac Abrams in Hollywood.
The I'm not sure we quite met with him.
I would be surprised if you had. He is the Baron of Hollywood. I would need you to simply meet with him, deliver the letter, and get a response from him. Is this something you can manage?
I guess.
Good.
If you are expecting an answer from him, that means you are not exactly on seek and destroy terms with him.
Not immediately, no. I'm curious about something in his possession, and he's curious about something in mine. If you can manage that, not only will I help you with your sword issue, I might actually stick around.
I'm afraid I'll have to ask my pack if you can stick around at our haven, but otherwise...
No need. I
see.
have my
What was that?
own place. Are you still habitating that hospital?
We had to move.
I would assume so. I would advise your pack not to remain in a single spot for too long, or at the very least to have a backup once in a while that you choose to use.
That is more or less what we plan to do.
Good.
But thanks for the advice.
Good. It seems that some of the Camarilla have been quite curious about your activities. I'm not entirely sure what you did to gain their attention, but if rumors are to be believed, your pack is responsible for the death of an Archon.
Can't confirm nor can I deny.
Regardless,
I wasn't
rumors
precisely
or...
there.
Sorry?
I wasn't precisely there to see it myself.
Well, regardless, both rumors and facts have the same effect sometimes. They draw attention.
Yes, they do.
Perhaps don't have your pack act in such a careless manner. There are targets we go after, there are targets we ignore, and there are targets we save for the right time. This is why.
I would bring this up.
Good. It would be a shame if you failed at such basic tasks like survival.
It'll be a great shame to your bloodline.
It would. So let's not have this happen.
Oh yeah. That'll be quite an uncomfortable dialogue.
Good. In the meantime, if you need me, I will have one of my servants gift you, or at least send to you, a way to contact me. that does not leave a trace.
Appreciate it.
Good. You should. As for tonight's business, I believe we've discussed everything we had to, but if you do need some urgent services, now's the time.
I guess it'll be all. Nothing comes to mind that I can't really do myself.
Good. Once you do meet Abrams, do be sure to carry his response with care and discretion.
Of course.
And she reaches, essentially from her cleavage, she pulls a folded piece of paper and hands it to you. Mm-hmm. And then gets back to her meal.
Bestest of nights to you.
Of course. Have a good night. And as she says that, the door opens and the ghoul walks back in and gives you a bow and gestures to the exit.
And I go.
Mm-hmm.
If in the meantime he gives me the means to communication.
He does not.
Otherwise,
not yet.
Okay.
Do you go back to the car?
Yep.
All right. Now, would you like to take the message to Isaac now?
Will I be able?
Yes.
Sure.
I mean, you'll be able to try at least.
Yeah.
All right. So, you start driving to Hollywood. And this folded piece of paper, just to give you an idea what it looks like, it's probably about an A4 sheet of paper that's been folded vertically a few times. And, A4 folded this way.
This way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To become sort of a small rectangle with the corners folded in, and it has a wax stamp on it with the symbol of a crown.
Very fucking sophisticated.
Mm-hmm. As you drive to Hollywood, I'm assuming you go around the downtown territory, or do you go through?
I'll go around.
Okay. Well, it takes you a while, because as the map will reveal once I actually start making it visible, if you decide to go around, it'll take you like a couple of hours, actually, to reach Hollywood. So, as you make your way to Hollywood, you have some time to think. What is Jack's current thoughts on his sire's recent arrival?
He's curious on what's the deal with the Arcs. Like, we are not exactly on war terms with them. We are not best pals either.
Very true. And this is sort of the thought that occupies your mind for most of the trip, until you reach what you know to be Anarch territory in Hollywood. You drive through the buildings, and the vibes here are completely different. You're not in the part of Hollywood that is lit up like a Christmas tree constantly with, the city that never sleeps vibes going on. You're in the part that is, usually reserved for either, more commercial rather than tourist purposes. And a lot of the stores in this area are either closed or they're 24/7 stores. You drive by supermarkets, you drive by some clothing shops, maybe you spot a couple of jewelry shops. It's stuff that's either mid or high end in this area. And eventually you start to reach an area where there's a red traffic stop. You stop your car, and as you do, how do you usually keep your car going while out on a drive? Do you lock the doors, for example?
I'm as a player not expert on LA geographics, but probably just to be sure.
Okay. Well, as you wait at the traffic stop, you hear a knock on the window on the passenger side. And outside is a man, quite well built, who leans over while wearing sunglasses. And he simply gestures very calmly towards the lock on the door.
I'll unlock the lock.
Mm-hmm. He opens the door, gets in the car with you, and closes it. I've yet to see you here before. What's your name?
Jack.
Good to know. What's your business here?
I am delivering a piece of mail on behalf of my sire.
Name?
Liliana.
Good. Isaac's waiting for you. I'll give you directions. Just keep driving.
Lead the way.
And he leads you through a few alleyways. He makes sure to basically take a few turns that you feel are sort of unnecessary. He goes around a couple of blocks a few times. And if the GPS on the car is on, he'll basically just put the radio screen on instead. He basically makes sure that you don't memorize any routes or anything like that.
Joke's on him.
Yeah, certain merits kind of make this useless, don't they? But he basically does this for almost an hour. And eventually, you park your car near what looks like essentially a jewelry store, but very high-end jewelry store. As in the type of place you'd expect to see robbed in movies, but who in real life has way too much fucking security. Also, the police station a few blocks down the road helps, And he basically tells you, enter through the back. I'll be here. And yeah, he doesn't leave the car. He just waits for you to go.
Immobilizer does some good stuff to the car.
Hmm?
Immobilizer essentially makes the car kind of undrivable without the key.
That's fine. Oh. He's in the passenger seat anyway.
Yeah.
So do you go into the store straight away?
If there's nothing of interest.
Doesn't seem to be. I mean, you could check, but as far as you can tell, not really.
Yeah, let's just go inside.
Okay. Well, you go around the store, down this pretty dark alleyway, and there's this door. And the thing you notice immediately is that in alleyways like this, especially given that this is the world of darkness, right? You'd expect some vermin to be around. Rats, maybe cockroaches, something. Because it's a dark alleyway, there's a trash bin nearby. You'd expect some life to be living off of it. There is nothing. Not a cockroach, not a rat, not a pigeon, not a raccoon, nothing. There's nothing in this alleyway. And you reach the door. You try the handle. Seems to be locked. And as you think of what to do, you hear a click, and the door seems to unlock.
Special delivery from Mr. Isaacs.
The door opens, and two men basically greet you and say, "Name?"
Jack.
"Delivery from?"
Liliana.
"Right this way." They both give you some space to enter and close the door behind you. After leading you down the hallway, they sort of lead you into this office. They knock on the door and then slowly open it. One of them opens the door, goes inside, closes it behind him, and you hear some mumbled speech from within. And afterwards, he opens the door, exits, and leaves the door open for you to get in.
Let's go in.
And as you do, the man just says to you in a very hushed voice, "Don't try anything."
Nothing.
And the door closes behind you. As you enter the office, it's this very well-decorated room. You'd picture this probably belonging in a mansion rather than just some office. And there are a lot of like really, luxury looking items around. There's not even a proper work desk, so to speak. There's more of this marble top table with, there's a computer on it, like a laptop on it. But there's also a lot of like small memorabilia in sort of glass casings. Sometimes it's a bullet, sometimes it's, basically one of those wooden smoking pipes. The word failed me. Sometimes it's like a pipe to smoke off of. Sometimes it's just a fake piece of a body part or something. And there's like, these are scattered through the table, they're scattered through the shelves, and right on the back, there's this huge widescreen TV with a shelf right under it with a VHS tape player, a DVD player, and another laptop connected, all three to the TV. And, again, there's a lot of like decoration in the room. A lot of it looks like vintage stuff that you don't know if it still works or not, but it looks fancy as hell. And after you take in the room, you notice there's a man who seems to be just sitting on the sofa, reading through what looks like a small book. Not really a book, more like a very thick set of pages held on by a clip. And after he flips through a few pages, he just goes, "Amateur shit." And he tosses it on one of the tables and looks to you, stands up and says, "So, Been a while since one of you decided to show your face around Anarch territory. Tell me.
Special delivery.
Special delivery.
You can say that.
From Liliana, they told me.
Yes, indeed.
Alright. Hand it over then. Yep. He takes the letter. He pops the wax seal, and he sort of gives a small brush of the bottom lip to his fingers, as if that was going to wet his fingers. Though, as vampires, that doesn't really do anything. So you sort of get the sense that it's more of he's a creature of habit, so to speak. And he opens it up and starts reading it. And then he says, "You know, you got some balls, kid. Not a lot of people would act towards your sect the way you do. I mean, just walking into Anarch territory that way."
You know what they say? Like father, like son.
Yeah, I suppose. Shame to see potential like that squandered. If you ever actually want jobs that actually respect what you're capable of, maybe give me a call sometime, yeah?
Nighttime television, I guess.
Afraid your clan wouldn't quite take to that.
If you forgoes, if you have mirrorless cameras, you can probably take some pics of me.
Yeah, yes, but those would be... I prefer the old-timey stuff, if you catch my drift. Anyway.
There were some stuff back in the day with no camera and somewhat equality, but...
Knowledgeable, are we?
More old.
I might actually have more uses for you than you might think. Well, regarding this letter here, I don't usually wait for something I want. But regarding this letter, he seems to pocket it and say, "The package your sire wants is currently not in town, but you can go get it. Or at least, I misspoke. It is in town, but it's not in a part of town I should just barge into myself. You can go get it yourself if you'd like."
Which part of town are we talking about?
Well, there's this club I used to own. Currently, it's run by one of my associates. You can probably get it from the back of said club.
I could if you tell me the address.
I will. But I'll need you to understand something first. This is not Sabbat country, and this is not Camarilla territories. This is a free barony.
And I have no claim on your land.
Good. And I really like the wording you used. My land. So, while you're here, watch your behavior. Is that clear?
Okay.
Good. The club you're going to is called Vesuvius. Not too far. Short car ride. You should get there pretty easily. Once you do get there, though, at the front desk, just say you're there to pick up a package for Mr. Abrams. They'll know what you mean. Afterwards, they'll tell you they don't have such indications. You'll exit the building and go to the back. At the back, you should get the package your sire has been requesting for the longest time. And I imagine, from the wording on the letter, you'll probably benefit from just driving her out of here and then setting her loose, but up to you how you want to handle that.
Letting who loose? Liliana or the package?
The package.
Paint me lost, I guess.
Look, it's up to you how you deal with it. I don't know why your sire would bother. That girl was fine where she was. She wasn't suffering. She was fine. Possibly the best she would ever be anywhere. But I'm a man of my word, and I did owe her a favor. So, go on.
I guess see ya one day, one night.
Yeah, one of my guards will give you my contact. Or rather, you can leave your contact with one of them. I'll call you, you don't call me. You know, showbiz.
I'll just leave my business card on the table.
Good. I'll see if I remember to actually take that into consideration. Right. Off you go. And he sits back on the table, and he takes another set of pages, and he basically starts flipping through them and saying, oh, this guy again. And you leave. The two men usher you out, and you reach your car, and that same guy is still there. He's sitting in the passenger seat. He sees you approach, and simply watches you get in the car.
You wanna ride?
I'm staying in. I'm staying in until you reach the edge of Hollywood when you're leaving. I'm keeping an eye on you.
Okay.
Drive to where you need to go.
I need to go to Vesuvius, but you close the GPS, so if you want, you can give me some.
I'll give you directions.
Yeah. Fine by me.
And once again, you drive for a very long time. You get the sense that at this point he's sort of wasting your time out of spite. And eventually you reach Vesuvius. You exit the car, and I assume you go to the front desk and do as
I was told.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're here to pick up a package for Abrams. The lady turns you away, and as you leave, she seems to make a call. As you go to the back, eventually, one woman makes it out, and she seems dressed in very expensive-looking clothes, from what you can tell. She has this very thick jacket and this sort of short-ish skirt, but very high quality. She has a lot of makeup on. You can sort of tell that if she is one of the workers here, as Vesuvius, you were able to tell it's either a strip club or very close to becoming a strip club. If she is one of the workers here, this place is really high end. As in, basically, no one with a salary that doesn't cover a living in the rich part of Hollywood would not come here, right? So this lady approaches you as you wait, and she's like, "Hey, so you're the guy who's supposed to give me a lift?"
Yep.
Cool. I'll give you my address. You can just take me home. It's fine.
Was I supposed to bring her to...
You were not given any indications.
Okay, I'll gesture her to the car and quick text to the ghoul, like, where to? I have the response where to.
After a while, as you enter the driver's seat and start driving around, he sends you a message, or at least you receive a message from his phone, and it reads, use your judgment. L.
Okay. I'll drive to the edge of unlocked territories at first.
As you reach basically around that area, that red light where the guy got in, eventually you do stop at a red light. And when you do, the guy just exits the car, closes the door, and says, before you think about turning back, just know I'm watching. And he starts walking away.
Yeah. How late is it already?
By this point, you'd have some time, maybe 3-4 hours before you have to go. I mean, 3-4 usable hours. After that, you have time to go to your haven.
Yeah, and her address is in which part of LA?
Her address seems to have been somewhere back in Hollywood.
Do you mind if I go someplace first? I really need it.
She
I'll give you a lift back.
She looks to you and says, I mean, sure, that's fine.
Okay. I'll drive through downtown. I don't have this much time. Do I have like a spare? I should have spare apartment somewhere in Sabbat territory. Like,
Yeah.
apartment.
I mean, given the way you make money, you could just use one of the apartments that's currently not being used, so.
Yeah. I'll go there. And at the parking lot, look her in the eyes. Tired. Don't you wanna go sleep? And the sleep will be the command I give her with dominate.
Yeah. And as you look her in the eyes and you say this, she just says, I mean, I am kinda. And just falls asleep.
Yep. I'll carry her into the flat and drop the address to the ghoul.
You after you get in the car, and I assume start driving back to East LA, you eventually get a response, and the response reads, very well. I will notify the miss. Cool.
Thumbs up. Go back to Haven.
Alright. And as you return to your haven, you park the car, lock it, and as you start walking inside the building, your phone buzzes. And as you pick it up, you notice you've received a text from an unknown number. You open it up, and as you start reading it, we will end the session here. And you will get a message privately.
Yeah.
We will be right back with the second part of tonight's session. And thank you, Tony, for showing up.
Yeah. Pleasure doing business with you.
It's still
Yeah, for some reason. There we go.
there's your top of the head. Yeah, there you go.
So,
are we gonna have any music or no?
not from my side. I'm sorry. Also, we're already streaming, so.
Oh.
So, one night in the middle of the week, you go through your usual patterns, where you essentially get up, check on Cecil, then do your own, tasks for the night. Only tonight, as you get up, you go to check on Cecil. And entering the room, he is not there.
Fuck. Is there anything left? Anything on my phone?
Well, checking your phone, you see no received messages. Checking Cecil's phone, you see a couple of messages from, like, they're business related, namely about how essentially reporting movements of shipments. But other than that, nothing.
Okay. Is there maybe a paper message left for me in the room?
Well, you look around and you don't really find anything.
Well, okay, I'm going to quickly run through the house. Like, very quickly.
Okay. Well, running through the house, at some point you see Jack leaving on his car. Basically, you look through the window, you see his car leaving. You see that Titus isn't in. He apparently already left. And you see outside, still in what you could call torpor, the statue that is Larry, just stationary.
Wait, he sleeps outside as a statue?
Well, currently he is pretending to be a statue, at least.
Okay. I'm going to go approach him. Maybe he has seen if Cecil has left.
You approach him, and he doesn't seem responsive.
Okay. I mean, it's kind of interesting to find out he can sleep outside as a statue. That's so weird. Anyway, I got distracted. So, does this house have cameras?
I would assume it would have if you or Tony were responsible for security here. So let's say yes.
Okay, I'm going to go see if there's like anyone, like if I can see if Cecil left. Are you muted right now?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay.
Why?
Yeah, so no, nothing.
Okay.
So I'm going to go and check in the cameras if
Okay.
I can, if basically, mm, I know that Cecil doesn't get up much earlier than I do, so I'm going to check if he has, like left the house.
Mm-hmm. So you check the cameras, and in the recording, as you move back, eventually you stop at the moment where he wakes up. So you see him at first just in his bed, um, which has, you would know, it basically has sort of a mattress that has a bunch of earth stuffed into it. You see him basically open his eyes. He slowly sits on the bed and looks around with a sort of confused expression. He gets up and seems to look around the room, examining things. After a bit, he goes up to one of the tables that has sort of a mirror in front of it. He looks at the mirror and seems to start touching his face and takes a few steps back and then runs out of the room. And checking the other cameras, it seems that he ran out of the actual house.
I'm okay. I'm gonna get the sports car, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check the hospital, but I'm going to approach it from so basically like drive up close enough, but get into the sewers and approach from there.
Mm-hmm. What are you trying to find at the hospital specifically?
Well, no, I'm trying to figure out where could he have a gun, so I'm checking if he has gone there or
I see.
actually no. No, actually first Serena's gonna drive to the place where Mariposa was.
Okay. So you drive into the war zone. You approach the area, and entering the warehouse, you don't see anyone. You enter that office area that I mentioned, where there's the book casing, and behind the bookcase there's the tunnel. The bookcase is still there, and there's no one in the office.
I'm gonna move the bookcase around
Mm-hmm.
and go in, because I know there's also an entrance to the sewers from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, you go into the tunnel. Do you put the bookcase back?
Yes.
Okay. And you go through the tunnel. Eventually, you do reach that fork where it's basically to one freshly dug tunnel. There's like an entrance to the sewers where you could squeeze through. And to the other is the place where you defeated Mariposa.
So I don't want to waste too much time. I'm going to basically run on full speed and see if he's there or not.
Okay,
Because the
well,
whole touching the face.
going through the tunnel, eventually you reach a dead end where it just looks like the tunnel caved in.
Caved in?
Yeah.
What do you mean caved in? Should there be a way forward?
There should be a way to that large arena where you guys defeated Mariposa. Unfortunately, instead of the arena, there's the way is blocked. There was a cave in.
Does it look fresh?
Ish. It looks as fresh as the tunnel to the sewers.
Okay, I'm being stupid. I'm being stupid. I'm going to go back to the car, and I'm gonna take out the maps,
Okay.
and I'm gonna start tracking Cecil's.
All right. Roll for it.
It's like Serena panicking. So I'm going to, yeah, I need to roll. I forgot. Ba-ba-ba. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 successes.
So that is the divination itself.
Yep. Just a second. One, two, three, four, five, six. 6 to interpret.
All right. So you start dangling your pendant. And what is this map of?
LA.
Okay. You start dangling your pendant, and you focus on it and try to read whatever it may tell you. And as you move the pendant over the map, eventually, after a few minutes, it starts sort of aiming at a general area. At first, you get East LA,
Mm-hmm.
and then it starts narrowing down, and eventually it narrows down enough that you get basically a small enough area that you can feasibly guess that he is either in essentially in a cemetery in the area, or he's near the cemetery.
Okay. I'm gonna get then drive there.
After making your way there, so you basically speed through the streets, making your way there. What is on Serena's mind as she's doing this?
Currently, he's very worried about how he awoke, because he still should know, like, who he is. So if he doesn't, then it could be chances that, he's actually possessed. So, but at the same time, she's quite happy she didn't find him here. So she's hoping that it's something else. Yeah.
All right.
She's very anxious.
All right. And these thoughts are basically the main thing that goes through your head as you start making your way there.
On a circle.
Yeah. And
She's
as
an anxiety ball.
And as you approach the cemetery, you basically screech your car to a stop, park it as quickly as you possibly can, kind of leave it crooked on the side of the road, almost, and you run where? Straight in, or?
She's probably going to. Is there like anywhere high up where I can get to so that I can like get a better look at the cemetery?
I mean, there are a few buildings on the edge of the cemetery, but there are also trees. So you don't know quite how much you'll actually see of the cemetery if you go on top of one of those buildings.
It's probably. Are there any tracks leading in to the cemetery? Cecil is not exactly a light man.
Very, very much so. Roll perception survival. It applies before you ask.
Okay. 1, 2, 2 successes.
Okay. You look around as you run through the entrance to the cemetery. You look around at the dirt to try and spot something that might indicate where he's gone. And at some point, you do find a set of tracks. Now, they're very faint compared to what you would expect, but they are tracks of something that doesn't quite fit with the other tracks. First of all, they're not tracks of someone wearing shoes. They're tracks of barefoot. And the track also has this sort of odd dent going through the middle of the foot, which you are aware is basically a trademark of one of the modifications you've seen him use.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm gonna follow the track.
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of gives you a general direction, so you start moving in that direction. And you see a couple of late night visitors to the cemetery. Either some. It's usually like one visitor per grave that is going there at night specifically because of the solitude. They're not going there with friends, they're not going there with family, it's just them. So you see a couple of people that visit the graveyard to do that. And they sort of give you the side eye as you run through it, kind of very focused on the ground and in the surroundings. And eventually, you reach this hilltop in the cemetery, where there's this pretty thick, tall tree growing. It is, by all means, a dead tree. It has no leaves, but it is also still quite sturdy. And as you approach the tree, you nearly run past it, just using the hill to see through throughout all the graveyard. But instead, you catch a very faint sound of someone muttering nearby.
Serena just stops in her tracks and listens where it is.
Yeah, you listen, and eventually you look to the side, and just down the hill, with its back to the tree, is what looks like a small mausoleum. Basically, one of those small buildings where you have essentially families that get buried together. It's what you see there. And the sound seems to be coming from within.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is so I'm gonna go in, but does the muttering sound like Cecil?
Similar. I mean, why don't you roll me wits and investigation?
Sure. Um, 4 successes.
Okay. It sounds like Cecil, though it's higher pitch than you'd expect. It doesn't sound like
Higher
like Cecil usually sounds, but it does sound
higher
like
pitch.
Cecil's voice.
Higher pitch. Okay, I'm obfuscating.
Okay.
And I'm approaching very quietly.
All right. And you approach, you go around it, and eventually you reach the opening at the front. The door seems to have been essentially opened either with enough force to have it bounce and not quite close all the way, but move to sort of an ajar position, or when the person got in and closed the door behind it, the door didn't quite close all the way, so it's slightly ajar. You look inside, and you basically see Cecil huddled in. Basically, these mausoleums aren't very big, so there's this very narrow corridor, and Cecil is just huddled with his back against the wall at the end of that small corridor, and he is audibly sobbing.
What is he muttering? What is he saying?
Well, you hear a lot of, well, because of the sobbing, it isn't very clear, but you hear mutters of confusion, mostly, like, what's happening, why do I look like this, I hope no one sees me, that type of feeling is what you get.
I'm gonna check his mind. Well, yeah, I'm gonna check his mind, but I think he might be, because like I don't think Mariposa. If it was Mariposa, I don't think this would be the reaction. I think it's, Olivier. I think it's my salad boy.
Okay.
I am so getting punished for the salad boy.
You are. If he knows, you are.
He will.
Salad boy.
Hey, Serena or Iris is Polish, so she knows what Olivier salad is.
Getting fucking buried alive.
Worth it? Please do a good roll. Do I get anything? No.
All right. So you start peering into his mind, and you start experiencing sort of the very surface of what he thinks, as if it was your thoughts. And the main feeling that you get is this utter despair at your situation. Last thing you knew, you weren't even, you weren't even outside of a lab where you were being kept for the longest time.
Okay.
Your sire was around. You depended on him for everything. When you came here, you thought, hey, this is just going to be a few lessons. You didn't expect the lessons to end up with you looking like Frankenstein's monster. And now you're afraid of other people looking at you and seeing this.
Okay, I'm going to untake the obfuscate then.
Okay.
And I my guess, this is currently now like a younger Cecil, way younger. So I'm going to approach him.
Okay. Well, as you drop the obfuscate, at first he doesn't really notice you. However, as soon as you open the door and that little squeak from the from the door hinges sounds out, and you start making your way inside, he literally like covers up all of his face and just says, "Don't come in. Just
No,
give me a moment."
relax. No, I'm here for you, and
I'm sorry. I
you're fine. You look fine. You're not a monster. Why would I think that my teacher is a monster?
He seems to freeze for a second and say, I don't know you. Look,
I
just
know.
go away."
Okay, Serena's just gonna approach him, take his hands,
He
like
actively
very gently.
flinches away.
He he takes his hands very gently and lowers them and looks him in the eyes.
Um, as you try to look him in the eyes, he seems to sort of like, instead of looking straight at you, he seems to sort of like try to avert his face from you, as if
Uh,
he's sort of ashamed of what he looks like right now.
Serena uh, reaches out with one hand and puts it softly on his cheek. It's okay. Am I speaking to Olivier right now? Because teacher, I don't think teacher has used this name for a while. There was a little accident. Um, I'm Serena, so when we met, I was called Iris.
I don't know you. Look, where is he? Did you Were you the one who kidnapped me? Is this part of the
Kidnap.
test that he was? What's happening?
Ah, look, do you know what year it is?
It's 87, right?
It's 2024.
There's a very sudden, like, pause in his speech, and he seems to sort of freeze for a moment.
Look, look at me. Your sire is not around. You are.
I
Just-
I ate him.
Yes, you did.
Oh, where am I?
In a cemetery around this area. It gave me quite a scare.
It's getting worse, I think.
We will manage it. I will. I will. I will help you. I will find a way. I will make a way.
Did anyone see me?
No, no, they did not.
I'm becoming a liability.
This is temporary. Only temporary. Look, the main thing is that no matter what you are going through, is that there is no signs of mariposa in your head. So it's just a matter of sorting through the memories and putting everything back where it belongs. These things do happen.
How long will that take?
Well, if we, it depends on how much I can spend time on helping you sort through the memories and um, how how deep into the memories you'd be willing to go.
We. First things first, we need to go. Let's go back to the hospital.
To the manor.
He then looks at you, confused.
We remember Sosimo betrayed us, so we have to move.
Yeah, let's just go.
Come on, I came here in a car.
He simply follows you, basically keeping an eye on things around him, making sure that he's basically not seen.
So once Serena gets to the car, she just starts driving very quickly back home.
As you drive, Cecil seems to sit very still. He basically opens the sun shield and opens the mirror on it and seems to be looking at himself, just thinking. And at some point he says, "Who else knows?"
About
Me. Who I am
the
right
pact.
now.
Well, the pact knows that you're a bit out of it after the diablerie, but they know that it's not possession. Otherwise, the Archbishop was expecting to see you on Sunday with the rest of us, and she called you, so we need to tell her something eventually. Otherwise, no one.
It's becoming harder and harder to manage. I might not be of use to the sword for much longer.
No. It's too early to give up. Look, just take it as a part of the transformation. Sometimes people need to revisit their past in order to remind themselves of why they're doing everything.
That man you saw there was dead.
I know, but that's a memory.
It shouldn't be. I got rid of it for a reason. If it's back, what else is back?
Well, whatever else is back, we're gonna find it and put it back. I am not giving up on you.
Your dedication is commendable, but there are limits.
No limits.
Some experiments just weren't meant to succeed.
No. Limits are only there to be overcome, just as challenges are.
Fine.
Let's go back to the house and let's go and see. Let's try and override the memory that you have. well, the ones that are currently being pushed sideways by Mariposa's memories.
All right. I suppose it's worth a try.
Right. So once we arrive, I'm first going to check if he needs any sustenance. If so,
We'll assume that you take care of him, if that's the case.
And then Serena will go back up to his room, make like put things aside if it's a mess, and ask him to sit down on a bed. And right, I think it's best to start from the closest and going back, because right now you're here. So you wanted to go back to the hospital, which is where we were only recently, a couple months maybe.
Yeah, but we're no longer there. I remember.
Yes.
I remember him. He decided to expose us to the tower. They came looking for us.
Yes. So I guess we should start from there. And going forward. So when so I'm gonna roll first.
So this is for
Psychomemoria.
Okay.
So I want you to think back on the emotions of Ruark's threat to us that night, about exposing, about Kian sitting there, and moving forward. 1, 2, 3 successes. Yeah. So he will be seeing the memories, but he's free to act as he wishes.
Yep.
So
he seems to sit his back up straight, and he focuses for a moment on the floor. And as you focus on casting this ability, you start seeing him frown slightly. Yes, I remember. He threatened us. Not overtly, but he did.
yes, he came there to see your new pack because he hoped that you would be alone, but you weren't. So instead, he asked you to make a washed for him. Well, he asked for a washed, but you made one. Remember?
I do. I used the weaker of the specimens I could find. brittle, dying, or too young to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
I made it formidable, but exploitable to those who knew how to.
Mm-hmm. And then you taught me how to make schlachter.
I did. I remember the surgery room. The change to the brain. The modifications. You did well.
They served their purpose, and they were quite on time, because next what we knew is that the Huntress was looking for us.
He seems to kind of show signs of disdain on his expression for a moment, and then he says, difficult fight. I got there by
Yes,
the end, but I almost had to use my Vorst.
well, we managed. Even though you were aware that night, you were away for most of the night, we brought her to a place where we could take her on our own terms, like you said.
And you did.
The Schlachter were a very useful addition. They kept her busy.
You did very well.
And after that, now I need to double check something. I'm just gonna go into the downtimes quickly. Mm-hmm. And then what happened the next week was that, well, that night you said that Sosima's brother will be embraced. And that's after that, the boy made plans to betray us.
He did.
Do you remember the night when Jose was supposed to be embraced?
I knew. The Nosferatu tried to get him killed.
Well, the Nosferatu had. Yes. But I stopped him from killing him.
I had to
So
make an
you.
example.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why I cared, but I wanted him to know his existence would be better off if he let go of these attachments he was fighting so hard to keep.
Yes. And then when finally Jose died, Zosima went on and later came back
And betrayed
with
us.
yes, Zosima came and he came back with Mariposa's location. A location that we stormed the same night.
It seems betrayal runs in his kind. Deep.
Yes. Well, Zosima that night went to Oswald. Very sure that Oswald betrayed him because the Hosea that was supposed to come to our haven, Oswald, was supposed to be a fake. And the person who was supposed to make the copy was Mariposa. So Zosima went there to only kill Mariposa for sending back Jose.
Then why betray us? Why call the tower of all things?
I suppose he was weak. And he chose to be weak.
I don't feel the attachment we once had. He may have died.
Or the Nosferatu always have favors and boons to call in.
And powerful allies.
And Zosima was close with, well, when infiltrating the Anarchs, he was close with Jeanette, but we both know that there is no Jeanette. It is Erise. So he could have just contacted Jeanette.
I remember all of this, but how does it help?
Well, while you're under psychomemoria, you're experiencing these memories again.
I did.
And yes, so when you're experiencing it, they push out the other memories. When you diablerize the Mariposa, you've experienced her memories going through you. And now you have basically in your brain, your neurons are firing off double. You're experiencing both. So what we're doing is we're re-experiencing your life so that you remember your memories, so that they are the ones that are more important.
I think this is enough for one night. I need to think.
So? Okay. Next time we will go back a bit further. But if there are any other memories of her that are pushing out yours, some other memories, you should come to me and tell me about those so that we can ensure that it is your memories that are more important.
He seems like he's going to say something, and then it sort of seems like he gives up on the idea of saying it and just nods.
Serena then nods at him, walks up to him, puts a hand on the shoulder, and gives him a light squeeze. Look, I know it's confusing right now, but it will get better. And even if I have to make a new discipline for it or learn a new one, it will happen.
Almost as if by instinct, he places his hand on top of yours. And he sort of squeezes it and says, "Thank you."
Right.
And
I
then
will
catches
leave now.
himself and seems to slowly remove your hand from his shoulder and say, "You did well. Now leave."
All right. As you say. Until tomorrow.
He doesn't respond, simply continues staring at the floor.
After Serena closes the door, she just like leans on it and puts her hand on her face, breathing in even though she doesn't need to. Then eventually she just like slaps herself out with, gives her cheeks a bit of a slap, and goes on to check like if there's any other thing she needs to do this night.
And that is where we will leave things for tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you Amalia and Tony for joining the session. Bye-bye.